It's always a pleasure to talk to you guys. It's always awesome to see you guys. No Brandon today because he is awesome and he deserves a day off. And hopefully we get to see him back here pretty soon. Today, I do have a guest though. So whenever he is ready, he will join us here in a little bit. So whenever he is ready, he will gladly jump on and hopefully we get to talk to him. Today, we have the Baltimore Ravens in place. They are now on the clock. The Ravens are kind of an interesting team. They're a team that you have high hopes for and a lot of can they do this? Can they finally get over the hump? And last year was just an abysmal time for them. They were a very competitive team, but I think everybody kind of had them a little bit higher than what we thought, a little bit better than what we thought. And unfortunately, just due to injuries and everything that did happen, um, it's okay. It happens. And I expect the Ravens to bounce back here fairly quickly. I don't think they're going to be down for that long. I think it was just an off year. Again, injuries is not an excuse, but when you have injuries the way the Ravens did last year, it was just one of those things that no matter what, it just did not seem like nothing was going to go their way. So today, it's all about the Ravens. So let's get right into it. They finished the season 8-9, having the 17th best offense and the 19th best defense. So a very competitive, very well balanced team. Unfortunately, with how everything worked out, that was the worst record in their division. They were fourth place. Now, their draft class, a lot of hits, a lot of misses, and some, I can't believe that happened. So it's just one of those things that I just couldn't believe that happened. So starting off with pick number 27, Rashad Bateman, the wide receiver out of Minnesota. Unfortunately, he had to deal with some injuries early in the season. But when he did come back, he looked promising. I mean, he finished the season with 46 receptions, 515 yards, and one touchdown. I thought that was great. I thought that was a good enough to show that, hey, maybe there is something there with this kid. So there's going to be promise. They also had another first rounder, pick number 31, Odafe Oweye, the linebacker out of Penn State. I thought the guy did as best as he could from what you wanted to ask for. 33 tackles, 5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, and 1 pass deflection. I mean, this guy was a good player for the Baltimore Ravens. The guy did his thing, and the hype was Micah Parsons and everything, but people forget Dofell Way was right there with him too, and not as talented, but I mean still a really good football player. And I think the Ravens did it right by getting another pass rusher to add to their defense, so they have to keep improving in that. They didn't have a second, but they did get a third. And with the third pick, pick 94, they got Ben Cleveland, the guard out of Georgia. It was very interesting to see how he went about it and how it all worked out for him. He's a backup right guard right now, but I expect him to compete here very, very soon. So it's one of those things that we'll see how this goes. Sorry about that. Just a couple people calling me. So sorry. I do apologize for that. Now, they're 10 picks later in the third round, pick 104, Brandon Stevens, the cornerback out of SMU. Now, this guy, I mean, he did his thing. 78 tackles, 4 pass deflections. The guy just did his thing. That's exactly, I think, what they were looking for in a slot man. And I think they found him. I think they found a really good slot cornerback, so I think it's good for them. Now, fourth round, pick 131. Unfortunately, it is Tylan Wallace, the wide receiver out of Oklahoma, 2 receptions, 23 yards. When you get to this point in the draft, you just hope they can contribute in any way, make the team, and just hope for the best. And we'll get to why I say make the team here in the next pick. He was a special teams guy, and, I expect him to expand his role hopefully here and, still contribute on special teams. They need wide receiver help, so why not? You drafted him, and it looks like he could be, he could turn into something. It's just, you saw what he did, so it's all up there. Oh, excuse me. Now, their first fifth rounder, remember, they had 3. So their first fifth rounder, 160, Sean Wade, the cornerback out of Ohio State. He got traded to New England. Didn't even play it down for them. He got traded for New England. I don't know what the cause was there. He had a good reputation and everything. I guess New England needed help on the secondary, and he got traded away before he even played a regular season snap for the Baltimore Ravens. So it is what it is. Now the next two picks, it's kind of weird because um you try to your best to draft these guys and hope that they could get something going, but with their second, fifth round pick, they got 171. They got Dalen Hayes, defensive end out of Notre Dame. Didn't play a single snap, so I can't even grade it. I give it an incomplete. And then Ben Mason, the fullback out of Michigan, I give it an incomplete. Well, he didn't even take a single snap as well because Patrick Ricard ended up having a Pro Bowl year. They re-signed him, so I don't even know if he makes the team next year. But it is what it is. Overall, if I were to grade the Baltimore Ravens, draft class, I would give it, I give it a C. You got your needs. You drafted a really good player with your second first rounder, and you just, the other ones were okay. You got a backup. You got a nice slot in the making, but everything else was kind of like, ugh. Your last three picks literally didn't even play a single snap for you guys last year. So it all depends on how you want to look at it. But I give it a C only because they got what they needed. They drafted the best player available, and it looked like they're going to develop into somebody that could be a cornerstone pieces to this franchise. So I give it a C. Um, so it happens. Every single year, injuries happen. This year, it just happened to be that the Ravens got the injury bug really, really bad, and it was kind of a shame. It was kind of a shame because this was supposed to be the year that Lamar Jackson was going to prove to everybody, and he did. He did some really nice things, and it's fortunately he got hurt. A lot of people got hurt, and we really couldn't evaluate should the Ravens give him a long term. Now, me personally, this is tough for me personally. I think this is tough to say because I would give Lamar Jackson a contract extension. The man won MVP. The man did his thing. You know, um, the man did his thing last year, and he's won MVP awards. He's been to Pro Bowls. He's got you a playoff win. I truly believe that the man should get um, a contract extension for the Baltimore Ravens. I think it's a shame that it's gone this long because we're getting to a point now where it's like, do the Ravens even trust him? Now with the injuries, it kind of makes it even a little bit like more of a layway for the Ravens to be like, well, he kind of got hurt. I don't know when you're coming back. I don't know if you'll ever be the same. So I don't know. We have to see how this season goes. And then there's a possibility he might get franchise tag if he has a really good year. But then it's going to get to a point where it's like, okay, well, we franchise tagged you this year. You have a great year. We'll see how the season plays out. I don't think that's a territory that one Lamar Jackson would have wanted to be in. And again, it's just injuries happen all the time. Jimmy Smith, a lot of good defensive players got hurt. A lot of offensive players got hurt. Rashad Bateman, missed a few games, and that was your first pick in the draft, and he missed a few. I just truly believe that the Ravens are going to turn this around. Hey, Mike, how you doing? Yeah, I'm going solo tonight. Brandon, he's going through, he's doing his thing right now. So unfortunately, it is just going to be me tonight. So I do appreciate you tuning in, though, but it's just going to be me tonight. Hopefully, we'll have Brandon here tomorrow. So like I said, he deserves the day off. He works super hard. He's a busy man. So today he just needed a rest day, which is perfectly fine by me. Now, to get to the Ravens standpoint, I know they're better than an 8-9 team. I know they're better than, what their record says they are. But unfortunately, the saying goes, you are what your record says you are. And last year, it looked like for the first time in a long time that the Ravens had no depth, no fire, no will, no nothing. I mean, they were competitive, but it didn't translate to wins. And I think this year, I think they turn it around. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people in this year's draft, and I think they're going to have another good draft. And I think they're going to just keep adding depth. And I think before you know it, they'll get their thing. They'll get their thing straightened out, and hopefully by then, we'll see what happens. But I think John Harbaugh, does have some blame in this offseason too, in this regular season that just happened. You have one of the best kickers in the NFL, if not the best kicker in the NFL. I think that's debatable. Justin Tucker. I think it'd be very hard to argue that he's not the best kicker in the world, more than it's easier to say he is the best kicker in the world or in the league. So, I there's no debate. And then there's games that John Harbaugh wanted to be Riverboat Ron, 1 for 2, and instead of playing for the tie and going into overtime, and you got him on the ropes, you wanted to win it right there, and it didn't work out. There's like 3 games that happen, and we'll never know what happens because we don't know what would have happened had they won the coin toss, had they lost. We'll never know. But that's 3 games I could say for Ravens and Ravens fans that will probably agree that they would have preferred to go into overtime just to see what would have happened, because there's no way you come back from that and then you try to go for 2 and you lose it, and that's a shame. And I question whether John Harbaugh is trying to think that he's somebody bigger than he really is, which is very uncharacteristic of him because he's more about the team. He's a team guy. The fact that I get it, you want to win and you either win trying or die losing, but it's, sometimes situational awareness has to come into play. And he's one of the smarter coaches in the NFL. I just found it really weird that he didn't want to trust his kicker. He didn't want to trust the leg of his kicker. I mean, he trusted him in Detroit for a 64-yarder, and it went in. So you would think, hey, let's get the automatic point and let's go into overtime. But I get it. You don't want to play overtime, and that's fine. But that's on him. That's not on the team. That's on him. That was his choice to put his team in that position. So I hope that John Harbaugh learns his lesson, because there was a lot of games that Baltimore lost by a single score. And I hope John Harbaugh learns those lessons to come back and, make better decisions to the next year and everything. And, we'll see how it goes. But I think if I was going to blame anybody for not the disarray of the team, but if I was going to place a blame other than injuries, it probably would be John Harbaugh because of his coaching decisions and his situational awareness at the time. So, but that's anybody. You want to win it, or you want to die winning, or you want to try winning or die losing. I mean, that's what it is. So I don't blame him for it, but I kind of say, hey, there's 3 losses here that we can strictly look at you and say, what were you thinking? So, and then the positive of that, had they switched the results and maybe they win those 3 games, maybe they would be 11-6 in the playoffs instead of 8-9 missing the playoffs. I mean, we don't know. We'll never know now. So we'll see. We'll see what John Harbaugh has up his sleeves next year. Hopefully, he makes better decisions. Because, not to say that he's on the hot seat, but I'm sure he didn't make any good friends with those decisions. So he didn't do himself any favors with those decisions. So now we head into free agency. What is Lamar going to do? Lamar's heavily recruiting instead of working on a contract, which is understandable, and I can see why. Maybe they've come to a deal where it's like, hey, we're just going to wait for you to finish up your contract, and then we'll talk then. But I will say this. I mean, they weren't really that busy in free agency anyway. They did lose some players. Anthony Averett, he's now going to be heading to Las Vegas. The starting center, Bradley Bozeman, is now going to be heading to Carolina. Chris Board is now going to be heading to Detroit. Justin Ellis is going to be heading to the Giants, the defensive tackle. Chris Weststreet, another cornerback, is going to be heading to Carolina as well. But I mean, they got some really 2 good names in free agency that were top players in this year's free agency. That was Marcus Williams, the safety out of New Orleans, and I wish Brandon was here so that way we could talk about it and everything. And then we got Morgan Moses, the right tackle for the New York Jets. I think it's solidifying the line for Lamar Jackson, which is something he always needed. He always needed a good protection. And now it makes him more comfortable to play his game, I think. I think this is a very good pickup for them. So, I mean, they also re-signed Patrick Ricard. How could you not? Pro Bowl fullback. last year of his deal. They got him back on a 3-year deal. So how could you not pick him up? How could you not try to re-sign this man? So overall, I think the Ravens are they're not trying to play it safe. They're just trying to do their best to, you know, come back up. They're trying to come back up in regards of, hey, we're going to keep building depth. We're going to keep building this. We're going to still have our core pieces. But now I think at this point, it's all about depth for Baltimore. I think Baltimore just needs a lot of depth to keep this team afloat. And I think you take away the injuries, I don't think there's no doubt in my mind Baltimore will be back in the playoffs this upcoming year. I think if you take away injuries and you take away the state of that division as a whole, I don't think there's no doubt in my mind that maybe they can compete with Cincinnati. I think Joe Burrow just caught Baltimore twice. He caught them twice at a good time when they were really down on their luck. And, I know that defense is going to try everything to make him pay, because when you go play twice against Joe Burrow and he throws 500 plus yards against you, you're going to want to get some revenge on that. You're going to want to, it doesn't just leave like that. It doesn't. That's something that you want to remember. I mean, they're going to remember that, and they're going to be like, well, this can never happen again, because, one time, once in a blue moon, 500 yards, understandable. You just got a good day. Twice in the span of a few weeks? Nah, he just owned you that year. Joe Burrow just owned that defense. Again, injuries do come into play, but players got to be ready to play too. And Joe Burrow just did his thing, which is not a shame. He did his thing to a lot of teams this year. So, where do I see the Ravens going from here? So the Ravens are an interesting team as far as the draft boards right now, because I'm looking at the names right now that are still available and everything. What the Ravens need, it's a very weird deal. Yeah, that's also true. I thought Zadarius Smith was going to go into Baltimore too, Mike. And last minute, it seems like a lot of players did that this year. Last minute changes, and he ended up going to Minnesota. So it was just one of those things where I was just kind of like, I thought Zadarius Smith would have been good in a pack or in a Raven uniform. I thought that would have been amazing to see, but it's just last second they said no. We're gonna go to Minnesota instead, which is a lot of players did that. I know Randy Gregory did that with the Dallas Cowboys. It was reported that he was going to sign with Dallas, and then last minute he signs with Denver. This is why I never. How can I say that? I never liked the tampering period, because something could be said there, but it doesn't count until the new league year. And I think that was stupid. I think that's a stupid deal. I never really liked that. It's like, I can't imagine how happy Baltimore fans were when they were like, oh man, we're getting Zadarius Smith. This is going to be great. This is going to be great. Booster our freaking pass defense, our pass rush is going to be great. And then last second he says, no, I'm good. I'm going to go to Minnesota instead. And I can't imagine that feeling. And Minnesota's like, oh, well, I thought he went to Baltimore. I never really liked the tampering legal period to myself. I always found that kind of dumb, because why would I want to talk to you? Yeah, I mean, same thing. J.D. McKissick, he did the same thing. Said, I'm going to Buffalo. Last second, nah, I'm coming back to Washington. And again, for many reasons. It could have been the money. It could have been the scheme. It could have been just maybe a change of heart. But I was never a fan. I'm never a fan of the tampering period, because you could just never trust anybody at that time. It was one of those things where it's like, well, that's cool. But until the new league year starts, I'll believe it. When I see the ink on the paper, I'll believe it. But, it's just one of those things I think people just, kind of have to really understand, what the hell and all that good stuff. But yeah, it's just, to me, it's just weird. But I looked at Baltimore's depth chart today. I was going back and forth. I'm looking at the draft board, see what name is remaining, looking to see how we can help them. Now, unfortunately, the best center in the draft is gone. Could you take wide receiver here if you're Baltimore? Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Not to say that they're terrible, but it wouldn't hurt. But then you look and you're like, well, in my world, Drake London, Garrett Wilson's already gone. Could I give them Jamison Williams and have another repeat of Rashad Bateman? Could I give them Chris Olave? But how's that going to work? In that system, how's that going to work in that offense? I could give them another wide receiver. I can give them, Sky Moore, Jalen Tolbert. I could give them a Christian Watson. There's a lot of names out there, but would they really fit with? Is it a need? I wouldn't think so. If they really wanted to, they can wait to the second, third. Do you maybe want to get a center here? Maybe, but I don't think nobody is. If in this case, Tyler Lindenbaum's gone in my mock draft, so it's like, is there another center that could just come close to Tyler Lindenbaum? I don't think so. So I looked at the boards. I said, okay, well, who's remaining? What's a need? And I think for Baltimore, you have to get a need because it's cool to stack the chips to get the depth, but you really need starters. And I think this is where they really needed to solidify this position. They really need a good starter here. So here we go. With the 14th pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Trayvon Walker, defensive end out of Georgia. Now, the kid's a stud. All right, the kid's a stud. He just had to wait his turn to play because understand the names that he had to wait behind for Georgia. Like understand the names that he had to wait all those years, that 3 years he was there in school. And I think this solidifies a need. I think this gets them the best chance to keep building that defense for Baltimore and go back to the defense that we all knew and grew up with. And if Trayvon Walker's there at 14, remember, this guy is right now projected to be a top 10 pick. I mean, it all depends on how others see him. Do they see him as a defensive tackle, a 4-3 defensive tackle? Do they see him as a 3-4 defensive end or outside linebacker? It all depends on what team gets him. I think if you get Trayvon Walker here for, thanks, Mike. I cannot say no for Baltimore here for Trayvon Walker here. Look, defensive ends right now, this is who you have starting right now if the season were to start. Derek Wolfe and Broderick Washington. Look, we need to get better. I think you put him at the defensive end. You tell him to gain those 10 pounds or whatever. He'll get bigger. I mean, look, he's 6'5", 275. He gets a little bit more muscle. I guarantee you, he'll be exactly a 3-4 defensive end, a prototypical 3-4 defensive end who can stop the run, stop the pass. And I mean, look, in 2019, as a rotational guy, 15 tackles, 3 sacks. 2020, 13 tackles, 1 sack. 2021, when he finally, all the juniors and seniors are gone, he's now the new man. He's the new starter. And he had a career year. 37 tackles, 6 sacks. National champion. Understand, ask Devontae Wyatt and Jordan Davis how critical it was for Trayvon Walker to be on that line with them. He took some pressure off those two guys, those two big nasties in the middle. When you have a player like Trayvon Walker, 3-4, 4-3, doesn't matter. This is what you're going to get. You're going to get a guy that has speed, 4.5 40. You're going to get a guy that has hops, 35 and a half. He's got explosiveness. He's got explosiveness in the broad jump, 12 inches, 3 feet. So explosiveness is not the problem. He's explosive right off the snap. He goes hard right off the snap. Agility, he's got it. 6.89 agility on the 3-cone drill. He's got that. He's ready to go. In the 20-yard shuttle, you don't want him to get an open space because he runs a 4.32 in the 20-yard shuttle. So what does this tell me? He's got the speed to take on any guard or offensive tackle. He's got the hops to pat down the ball. explosiveness right off the snap of the ball. If he times it well, forget it. That dude's just coming straight at you like a bull. Agility, he knows that. He knows that better than anybody. Open space, he'll show you what he can do in open space. You better hope that he doesn't get an open space because that dude will hunt you down. He's got excellent pursuit. That's what the 20-yard shuttle teaches me. He's got excellent pursuit. I will say this, though. I mean, he is going to be a little in a 3-4, which Baltimore does run. He is going to have to build up some muscle. I mean, I know it sounds weird at 6'5", 275, like muscle. He's going to have to build up a little bit of muscle to get to that 280, 285 range. If he can get there, we're looking at a future Pro Bowler here. And then from there, the sky's the limit. This guy, if he turns out to be what we all expect him to be, and he turns this defense around for the Baltimore Ravens, I expect him to be up and at it. I expect him to be one of the better pass rushers coming into the league. He just has that, power. He knows how to do, and he's got amazing hands. Hand adjustments. He knows how to do all that. I think he's one of the more pro-ready defensive ends to come out in this draft, other than Jermaine Johnson. And we'll see how it goes. And I think if he goes into Baltimore and he does this thing where he has an amazing year and he's getting all the love, he's going to be a fan favorite. And I think, a lot of people right now look at it and say, man, I don't know about it. He might be a little too weak in the knees or whatever. But the way I see it, Derek Wolfe is an amazing veteran. But how many more years does he really have? Until today, and be honest, until today, how many people knew, other than Ravens fans, how many even knew Broderick Washington was even part of the Baltimore Ravens? So my thing, if I'm going to be honest with you, Trayvon Walker at 14, should he fall there? First of all, that's the key thing. Should he fall to 14? Would be amazing to me. It would be amazing because remember, these guys see him as a top 10. Some people even have him as a top 5 pick. I don't know if it's because of the year that he had that people fell in love with it. But remember, this was his first full year as a starter. And he decided to capitalize it by coming out as a junior. Had he stayed in the senior year, I don't know what would have happened. So right now, I think it's a good time that he did come out as a junior to try to capitalize on what he did. And yeah, Mike, that's the thing. I've seen him as high as 2, too. I've seen him go to Detroit. I've seen him go to the Jets. I've seen him go to the Houston. This kid is all over the board. And it all depends on what team you're talking to and what do they view him as. Like I mentioned, if you're a 4-3, if you run a 4-3 defense, do you like him at defensive tackle? Do you see him as a defensive tackle? He's got the weight for it, but do you think he's ready to take on the guards? Do you think he's ready to do this as a defensive tackle? And if you're in a 3-4, do you see him as an end or do you see him as a linebacker? I think the Ravens would take him here as a defensive end, but don't be shocked if they try him on linebacker too, outside linebacker, just to see what they can do. All I'm saying is this kid has amazing film. He has one of the better films that I see for defensive ends coming out of this year. And remember, not to take credit away from him. And yeah, I get it. He's capitalizing on an amazing junior year. And, we don't know what would have happened had he stayed. Would he still be productive when Devontae Wyatt and Jordan Davis leaves? We don't know. But, I mean, I don't blame the kid. I don't. And I'm not saying that, that as a way to say, does he love football or is he just capitalizing on the opportunity? I think he really does love football because a talent like that doesn't stay as a rotational guy past his sophomore year. He must have really loved that program. He must have saw something in that program to say, you know what, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to make sure that I'm going to get mine when it's my opportunity. So I don't think lack of passion's there. I think he has passion. I think he loves the game. And honestly, I think he's going to do everything right. And I hope Should he go to Baltimore? I wish him the best of luck in his career. Wherever he goes, I know he's going to kill it. I know he's going to kill it. I know he's going to do an amazing thing, and he's going to have an amazing career. So that is my pick for the Baltimore Ravens today. I do not think my buddy will make it in time, unfortunately, but unfortunately, that's just how it goes. We all are busy, so today was a solo episode. But other than that, I do want to thank everybody for tuning in. Everybody on Instagram Live, I want to thank Noriha Comedy, Go Hard or Go Home. Brandon, I hope you're having a good day, man. Hopefully you're okay. Be safe and everything. I'll talk to you soon. Mike, as always, thank you so much for being a supporter of the show, this little show that nobody understands, but I'm glad that you enjoy it, and I'm glad you're following along. Tomorrow, we got a good one. It is the Philadelphia Eagles. They are now on the clock. They have a total of 2 picks. They have 2 picks now that they did the whole trade with the Saints. And I don't know where the Eagles are going. I'm just going to be straight up front with you. The Eagles are a wild card here because they can go anywhere. They can choose anywhere. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that, man. The Eagles can go anywhere at this point. They can go another wide receiver. They can go offensive lineman. They can go anywhere, to be honest with you. And I'm excited to see where the Eagles go. I got to look at this. What are they going to do? How are they going to do this? But tomorrow, it's all about the Eagles. I cannot wait. Mike, everybody that is going to tune into this episode later, thank you guys so much for the support. Do not, please, we want to get bigger. We want to have some more fun and expand. Please do not forget to hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends, hey, man, if you just want a good time, a good laugh for a mock draft, come to the show. It's a lot of fun. And we'll keep you posted. No, Brandon, I do not think they're going to trade every pick. I don't think so. But hopefully we get you back on tomorrow. And other than that, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Please do not forget to hit that subscribe button. Until then, I am your good old boy, JR, speaking for my buddy Brandon and everybody that's part of the show. Peace.